And we're live. Hey, we are live. In fact, we're live in two completely different places at once, which is the magic of the internet. I am Steve Stewart, and that is.
Mark Deal. Steve, I think we're usually live in two different places. It's just the place is a little different this time around for both of us.
That's right. And this time you're at a conference, and I'm not. Usually, if it's ever the other way around, I'm at the conference, and I'm so jealous. You're at Podcast Movement right now, which is in Washington, D.C.
It's in Washington, D.C.
Oh my gosh. Show everybody the view you've got. I mean, the
Why don't we do
Gaylord's
that?
behind you.
Yeah, this is the Gaylord behind me. This is like the big atrium here, however many stories, 20 stories tall, what happened wherever it may be. In fact, maybe this doesn't go 20 stories tall, but then it goes back and then it goes up some more. So like this is the short foyer, as it were, for the Gaylord. And then it goes back, and then up some more. There's a couple little houses. It's not as big as the Gaylord in Nashville, where Podcast Movement was at in 2024, but it's still a pretty big facility. And again, I apologize for any background noise you may be hearing because I'm here in front of the Potomac. In fact, the Washington D.C. Mall is that way over there, and what you're hearing now is a little bit of the wind as it's blowing the flags around. And then you see airplanes coming in for Reagan National Airport, as well as military craft, going towards, the White House and back and forth, as it were. So, yeah. And of course, there's other podcasters and attendees just, milling around the lawn with me while I'm doing this live stream.
Yeah, in fact, you had John Gay bumped into you earlier, Jag from Detroit.
Yes, there's a few Podcast Editor Academy members I bump into, as well as other people that may not know who Mark Deal is. But when I mention Podcast Editor Academy, they're like, "Oh, Steve Stewart. Oh, you're that Mark Deal." So once I say that, then it connects for them. They know who I am through you, Steve. So once they hear the job, "Oh, you was Steve Stewart. Oh, you're that Mark Deal."
Yeah, you bumped into Gabriella on
Mm-hmm.
the bus. She's a newer PA member.
Yeah, on the bus to Top Golf. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so I've seen some pictures and stuff from the sessions there. We're not going to talk about Podcast Movement the whole time, but while people
Yep.
welcome everybody, by the way, welcome. If you have any questions while we're going through this live stream today, feel free to post them in the group or on YouTube, and you can post them down below. And if you're on Facebook, if you can give StreamYard permissions to show your face and your image or your name, then we'll be able to share that along with the comments you'll see down below here. But Mark's a Podcast Movement. I'm jealous. I want to hear more about it. So there's some great sessions I saw from people posting. And I know you had one that you particularly liked. What was it? It was the
Yeah, so
branding.
that was the first 10 minutes of Podcast Movement. And I know this live stream is to talk particularly what questions about Podcast Editor Academy, where we come from, what we've done over the years, where we're going, that sort of thing. But I know everyone wants to hear about Podcast Movement because I'm here and it's currently happening live right now. But yeah, to answer your question, Steve, there was the first session. In fact, the first slide, they put up a Pareto chart of. Oh, thank you for putting that up there. It's just a snapshot I did of the screen. And this is basically for branded shows. They asked 50 big companies. So that was their data set, 50 big companies, what were you looking for before you launched? And when I looked at this, I read, hey, this is what I can include in my copy. So you see those first three things, and you probably saw in my post right there. That's here's how I use this to phrase and articulate a kind of copywriting, for like a mission statement for a podcast studio that wants to get into branded shows. And then those items at the bottom that only got 2%, that means 1 out of 50, right? I did that math in my head. I'm so smart. But those are the words to avoid. And those are the outcomes to avoid, because they're not looking for that. They're looking for the stuff up above. Of course, there are more slides, what is the value that they got afterwards, and, what are some of the other things that they got out of the branded podcast. But yeah, this was like the first slide from the first session of Podcast Movement. It's just been, one thing after another. And there's lots of sessions geared towards editors and producers and building teams of producers. And yeah, it's been fabulous.
Man. Well, I'm certainly jealous of you being there, but that's not why we're here today. We're talking about the thing that you and I have been building for the past 4 years, which is the Podcast Editor Academy.
Yep.
we, you pushed me into this.
I did. Thank you, Steve. Steve is like, hey, I want to tell all if people have questions and that they're afraid to ask and how everything runs. Let's do an ask me anything, ask me everything, and for the most part, we'll share. And it's funny, Steve. I think you're kind of it's probably okay that I mentioned this since you brought it up. I first built Podcast Editor Academy as a simple website, and I gave it to Steve Stewart to show, hey, here's an example of what you could do. And that sat there for like 2 years before we did it, even before the first Podcast Editors Conference, which came before we actually launched it publicly. But basically just to show, hey, Steve, I know you're doing these live streams, you're doing these videos. Here's an example of a membership site on how people could do so. Now, granted, the technology back then was super simple, and we've come a long way since then. I'm sure we'll talk more about that. Just the feedback of the Podcast Editor Academy members, why they joined and what they're getting out of it and what they would like to see more of.
Yeah. And what's funny is you're right. I keep thinking it's been 4 years since we started the Academy, but it's been longer than that since the live streams have been going on in the Podcast Editors Club Facebook group. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, really all the stuff that we did with the conference kind of led up to that moment where we said, hey, we've got all this content, this education system, the support we can provide to editors to teach them how to do what I've done is create a career out of podcast editing, which I never really thought was a thing. I'm trying not to use the word deal because, deal is a trigger word.
That's
for some
me.
people.
You're right, Stuart.
Yeah,
I think it'll be, if you think about it, going down this path, it'll probably be 5 years in October, because I think that's when you and I first had a discussion, because I could not get Steve to launch Podcast Editor Academy. He's like,
I wouldn't do it by myself.
I'm not a tech person. I'm a people person. And then they're like, well, Steve, what if we did an in-person conference? We can go to Orlando. And we started planning that in October of 2019. And we had the first Podcast Editors Conference March 6th of 2020. And boy, what a year 2020 was. But luckily, you and I were among the few people that was positioned well for it.
Yeah. And I have to say, and this is an Ask Me Anything and a tell-all, when Mark first proposed, hey, you should have a conference for editors. I'm like, nope, I don't want to do it. Too much work. And then
that's right.
You worked with Chris Komitsos to come up with a pretty attractive deal. And it got to the point where I know what the cost was going to be. And I said, that's a number I would be willing to throw away to make this conference happen. And it was, I think after all the costs and stuff, the sponsorships that you secured with Libsyn, Descript, Heil, Focusrite, and the ticket sales, we ended up, I think you and I both profited $33 a piece. I think it was $33 a piece.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think we did make money off that, like $30. We made $30, which, as Steve said, we were looking at it as an investment. It was a strategic investment because no one else knew it at the time. Although we told the attendees at the closing keynote about Podcast Editor Academy. And it was so fun and exciting to announce that to everybody, as well as at the time, if anyone who was at the original Podcast Editors Conference 2020, but Steve and I turned around and turned to everybody in the room and told them all, like, you all have a 1-year trial, no cost trial for Podcast Editor Academy. And the cool thing about it, the tickets for the Podcast Editors Conference was like $30. And then the way that the Podfest tickets work, if you lumped it in with the Podfest ticket, it was essentially free. And then from there, they ended up getting like an entire year of Podcast Editor Academy for free. Now, granted, Podcast Editor Academy back then, 4 years ago, I think that was May 2020, isn't like Podcast Editor Academy is today as far as the number of resources and the roadmap and scripts and everything. But
you're happen to be going underwater again, Mark. I don't know why, but you're going underwater again. But it's not your voice. We're trying to figure out what this is causing the Mark to go underwater. We don't know what it is.
I think it may be the wind and the Apple AirPods trying to fight the wind. But thank you for letting me know. I'll definitely repeat anything that needs to be repeated.
Yeah. But Chris Stone remembers it. We had some great times.
Oh, Chris was there. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Chris.
We've got some great video, which all the videos are in the side, the Podcast Editor Academy. And then, of course, since 2020, we have grown the Academy to have, I think it's at least 300 videos, although don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Because we've
Oh
got a
no,
lot of courses with modules and walkthrough stuff. We've got the roadmap, sales scripts. Holy moly, we got sales scripts. You can copy paste these things and communicate with potential clients, with sponsors, with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think we hit 300 videos a while back, but I think that's a bad metric for membership sites. Of like,
Right.
oh, here's how many videos I have. I mean, it's great if you're Netflix and like, hey, we've got lots of shows, but people join us because we're telling them here's the benefit you're going to get, and people stay members because they continue to get that benefit and they continue to evolve. So we've worked hard with the Academy with all these resources to organize it in such a way that people can easily find it when they need it, as well as it's presented to them at the development point they happen to be at before they even know that they need it. And then they follow the steps and they continue to grow. And hopefully they continue to stay members.
That's well said. Well said. Hey, if anybody has any questions about the Academy, I mean, Mark and I are just telling you what we think you want to know, but we don't know what you want to know. So please put them in the comments. If you give me your name and stuff, I can put it up like this, like Zach Miller's here. My friend Zach and I did a live stream, which is in the Podcast Editor Academy, about how to launch video podcasts. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty amazing course. It's an hour long, or no, actually, I think we went an hour and 20 minutes. There was a lot of questions in the chat then. So please throw them in the chat now so we can answer your questions there. Because Mark and I, at the end of August, are going to be closing the doors to the Podcast Editor Academy to new members. So existing members, look at it this way, Mark, when you go in your house, do you close your door?
Of course I close the door, Steve.
Yeah. When you close the door, where are you?
Steve, I'm still in the house.
You're in the house. So I'm there.
Still enjoying everything inside the house.
So when you join the Academy, you're in the house. We're just going to close the doors to new members, at least through the end of the year. We've got some things we're going to focus on, and we're gearing up for some stuff in 2025. So if you're an Academy member, we've got a few of them that joined up just this last week. If you're thinking about joining, you better do it before August 31st. Get there at Podcast Editor. Let me take this thing off the screen. There we go. PodcastEditorAcademy.com. To join now, get your membership in there so that we can serve you throughout the holiday seasons and, of course, into the new year.
Well said, Steve. Well said.
Thank you.
Any questions coming in about the Academy, why we started it, how it works, why we're closing doors? Any questions? I'm remotely here in DC, so I really can't read the comments until you put them up.
No, I think they just want to see the water again.
Oh,
of course, okay, I could turn my camera on and I could show you the mountains.
Oh, who else has been enjoying some of the pictures and videos that Steve has been posting since he's moved to Colorado? That double rainbow thing, across the sky was amazing.
That was
definitely
morning.
beats this view.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's your house. Here I am. I'm traveling to a conference. I'm in DC, so sure, you get some wind, some sun, some water, but I'm not at home.
I'm still jealous I'm not there.
The door.
But yeah, I would have missed the double rainbow here above the mountains, which was amazing.
It looked awesome.
And not to brag, I don't want this to be a brag, but this is something that needs to be highlighted. The stuff that's in the Academy, I learned from other people as well. And we present it to you so that you can do what I've done. And maybe you can do it even better. In fact, you should probably be doing it a little bit better than I do, because I'm not an expert in all these things. Absolutely not. My wife and my wife quit her day job in September 2021. And we moved to this house on my income alone. And we're able to pay the mortgage on my income alone. I'm not saying I don't even make six figures a year. It's a tell-all, right, Mark?
If you want to share those figures, tell all.
I don't make six figures. I can get close. I generate more than six figures, that's for sure. But you're
talking about single income stream. Okay, I got you.
Exactly.
All right.
How do we do that? We do it because of the stuff that I've learned, the stuff that I'm applying, stuff that you can learn in the Podcast Editor Academy. So there you go.
Rightfully said. Steve, I was talking to somebody about some of the clients I work with and what I do and what I charge, what some people think are the crazy numbers that I charge. And I'm like, yeah, but it's for a handful of clients. And I could have gone out and, grown that to 100 clients, and that's okay for some people. But that's not the lifestyle that I wanted for myself. In fact, I I left the corporate world. I used to work at GE, used to be an executive for GE, and me and another exec co-founded the company. He quit a year before I did to run that company, and then I quit GE a year later to join him as his co-founder running that company. And then we were building up a big team because it's a huge service based company. And then I felt like I got off one corporate ladder and created another one for myself. And I did not want to do that with my podcast production. But luckily, Steve, working with you, instead of having to take on 100 clients to maximize my impact, I now get to basically share tips and tricks to thousands of podcast editors and podcast editor club. What are we up to? 9,200
Yep.
podcasts. Yep. And there's companies here, Podcast Movement, because this is the big corporate podcasting event, that know what you and they know what we do, and they ask us, hey, can we come on and share this new feature of I don't want to drop any names until you see it, but
Right.
again, it's great stuff. But the live streams that you've seen from Steve doing, and we get to put those and share them live inside of Podcast Editors Club. Of course, they're only there for a week, and then they go into the academy where everything has been for over 4 years.
Yep. It all lives there.
Yeah, that's before somebody asks me, is like, hey, why did you start the academy? That's one reason. That way I can leverage what I know across thousands of editors by me trying to get as many clients as I can. And it turns out I am not the best editor for everybody. I don't think any editor is the best for anybody. I think we're people. We're not AIs. We're not bots, and we know what industries and niches and shows that we best excel in, and are able to make them sound great and basically be great shows. And I think because of that, I also feel like I'm maximizing my impact again through Podcast Editor Academy.
Yeah. And to piggyback off what you were saying, and I see a question from Zach in a minute, I'll put it up there, but to piggyback on what you're saying, you don't want to start a whole nother corporate thing where you got all these employees and all these.
Oh, for me, no. My
Right.
wife and I, we don't work Fridays. Well, Steve, I don't work Saturdays and Sundays, and we stopped working Fridays a couple of years ago. Both her and I, neither one of us get paychecks, so it's something we were able to do. And it's funny, when we took that away and made our focus 4 days a week, things got better for us. As well as when you're entrepreneurs, it's hard to know when to retire. So this way we can kind of like do a phased approach to understand how it all works.
That's
So
an interesting
yes,
point.
that's a big thing. Is I didn't want to create another corporate cog machine to lock myself in, and I don't feel like we have that with Podcast Editor Academy. I love our people.
Wait, say it again. I couldn't quite hear you.
Oh, and I think there's another plane going to come by and some wind blowing. Of course, as you say, can you clarify that again? I did not want to create another corporate cog machine to lock myself into. And through Podcast Editor Academy, I can share what we learn, as well as tons of other mentors and guest experts have come on, and companies share what they do, and we all benefit from it.
Yeah. And I do something similar as to what you and your wife do, which we have Vicky Day here. It used to be Thursdays. When we moved here, I decided to try and make it Tuesdays. I'm still not sure that's the right day, where Tuesdays we go and do something together. Because you know what I hate? I hate going to the hardware store on a Saturday. I hate going to the grocery store on a Saturday. I hate doing all the things on a Saturday, because guess what everybody else is doing? They're going to those places on Saturday. Guess where nobody is on Tuesday? They're not getting their haircut, not going to the dentist, they're not going out with their wife. They're not doing all these things. I can make my own schedule. I can work extra. I can work late. I can work early. I mean, this is a spare bedroom, so I can come in here and work whenever I want because it's not interrupting anybody. So these are fantastic opportunities you can do as you're self-employed, editing podcasts for other people. Just got to have a good machine, good internet, and great customer service. That's the key for me, is great customer service.
Agreed.
Yep. All right, let's get into it.
We got questions.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, that's right. Chris was at the conference. He remembers. I'll pull a little momentum out here in a second. Zach is asking, why are you ending the academy? We're not ending the academy. We're closing the doors to new members. Is the ROI not there compared to the time you're committing? Oh, interesting.
That's a big question I have to think, is what he's saying there. Oh, I see what he's saying. Is return on investment.
Yeah.
No, luckily, Zach, we focus on member value. So it's not so much acquiring new members, because it's not the academy isn't a lifetime ticket. And that being said, anyone can cancel at any time for whatever reason they happen to have. So our big thing is to give people reasons not to cancel.
That's right.
But over the years, because obviously we're charging a lot more now, Steve, than what
Oh
we
yeah.
did when we initially launched, and we still have some of the people that were with us from initial launch day, as well as people, as you mentioned earlier, that continue to join. So, yeah, the academy is not closing, and that's a very good point, Steve. And I want to make that very clear. The academy is not going around anywhere. Just after August 31st, when you go to the homepage, you'll still see a little bit of what the academy is and why you should consider joining. But instead of being able to join now, you'll be able to join. You'll have to join a wait list. Um, and then of course members will be able to to click the member join member or not join but the
Member
login
login.
screen. Yeah, so yeah, members will still have access. It's just all this salesy stuff and everything will be somewhat condensed. Oh, I just saw Alex today. He was talking about the live classes he did with the Steve.
Yeah. Oh, he was.
Yeah,
They were
but instead
fun.
of instead of having those pay to join options, those go away. Those go away. So sure, I guess one way to look at it is we won't have as much new income, and that's what a couple of the financial measurements we have
Wait,
is.
we won't have
Yeah,
it new. Say it again. Airplane
uh,
must have been going over again.
yeah, no, it's the wind. It's the wind. Let me try that. How's that sound?
No different.
No different because the wind's blowing in on the outside. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so revenue from the Editor Academy, there's new income, there's recurring income. So the recurring income will still be there. We just won't get any new income, but that's okay. We're comfortable. But there's things that, as Steve said, we're going to work on. The last time we closed the door, Steve, we did it for 1 month back in 2022. And that was a ton of work, coding all that stuff, putting in the
Yeah.
roadmaps and reorganize some of the content and some of the graphical overlays and all that. That was a lot of work, and we did that in 1 month. This time, for what we have planned, we need a little bit more time. And I'm guilty. This is my fault, everyone. It's not Steve's fault. I asked Steve, like, hey, could we not open it back up right around Thanksgiving and Christmas? Because again, I'm a family man, as you heard. I don't want to be pushing it hard to get new people back in right around the holidays. And Steve, I know you're not about the whole holiday promotion either.
I'm
You're
not.
about giving back.
Everybody does that.
So
Everybody's trying to sell stuff at Christmas.
we don't. We definitely don't.
Yeah, Christmas is supposed to be a time of giving, not buying. So you're pitching. In fact, you're going to watch this, folks. When Christmas comes around, all the things you're going to get in your email box saying, hey, you get a discount if you sign up today. Not that you're signing somebody else up. It's for you to buy something. If you want to buy something, great. Why does it have to take a Black Friday sale to do that? And we're guilty. We did that one time, but I didn't have
Yeah.
a good taste in my mouth when we were done with that.
Yeah, I remember mentioning that. I think that was the first year. Maybe it was 2020. I'm not sure for 2021, but
20,
yeah,
probably
I was
2020 because we did the 12 days of
right.
Christmas that year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we
So
offered a
it
deal
was
too.
2020, and I think what it was is because I've never been a fan of the Black Friday things, but we brought back something close to what our launch pricing was. I mean, we did launch pricing, and that price was only available for like a month or so, and then it started clocking back up. And I think Black Friday we introduced we had some. I think it was a semi-annual thing. I forgot what it was. But yeah, I'm not big on the Black Friday deals, and quite honestly, I look at the income I need to make, I divide by 10, and that's my monthly goal. And if it turns out that I can get that goal in 10 months, yes, my November and December are me times. I don't I don't
Yay.
I don't need to close some sales quota. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So going back to Zach's question, we're not closing or shutting down the academy. We're just closing the doors. He says it makes a lot of sense. Thanks for answering. He says you must have a really low churn rate, which speaks to the value of the academy. There you go.
That's another metric. So Zach understands membership metrics. So yeah, we look at churn rate and we look at new signups and the monthly recurring revenue, the MRR. broken down by new and existing members. And yeah, so those are some of the metrics we look at. We also look at qualitative stuff. I remember, Steve, we coded this in back in, I think, 2021, an exit survey.
Oh, right.
So yeah. So again, you can cancel at any time. You don't need Steve. You don't need to email Steve or I and say, "Hey, I want to cancel," and then we cancel it. No, you have control to do that at any given time. And then something new that we did that took a little bit of some one-off coding is I introduced like a 3-question survey, and I just asked, "Hey, why did you join? Why are you leaving? And what could Steve and I have done differently?" And then there's a button, once you put those, type those things in, uh, that button both submits that feedback to Steve and I, and then cancels your membership, or at
Yep.
least it goes out to when your next. You still have access to your billing cycle or whatever unleft portion of your membership you still have, and then this may sound like a bad thing, but I'm the type of person that turns lemons into lemonade, Steve. With all the people that have left, we've learned, why they joined and why they've left. I know you do one-on-one calls when people join, so you get a lot more of that qualitative feedback. But for me, a numbers person, doing surveys and everything, now I can look at all that like, hey, here's a list of all the reasons that they're canceling. Here's, how can we make it better, better for them and therefore better for us. And then some people tell us, and that third question, what could we have done differently? Now, a lot of people say, nothing. I love you,
I
Steve. I
know.
love you, Mark. We're just leaving it. Like, okay, great. Nothing we can do with that. But, if you got to go, you got to go. And yeah, as I said before, it's not like Steve and I have to approve it or whatever. You control it. Once you hit that button, it immediately sends us that feedback and stops your billing, so you
Yeah.
won't get charged ever again.
I, of course, hope that you would reach out to me first if you have questions, needs, stuff like that. I'm talking to the audience, Mark, not you, but questions, needs, stuff like that. Because obviously, you want to know, what is it that maybe could be improved on? Because that's going to drive me to that next thing that we add to the academy. Hence, another reason why we're shutting the doors to new members right now, so that I can focus on existing members.
Or a lot of it, and we've got closed forums inside Podcast Editor Academy, and there's also, you can Steve has set up a thing where you can submit feedback, whether it's a direct email contact to Steve or I. There's like a speak pipe thing that Steve set up to where you can just speak your question if you want to, or if it's something a little bit more complicated, submit a file. That way, we can get those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But
Leave me a
a lot of
voicemail.
times, yeah, a lot of times people are asking like, "Hey, I've got this particular challenge," and it's like, "Oh yeah, we have that resource. It's in the academy that you're a part of." And sometimes the problem is us. We didn't tag that course correctly or put enough description. So when people type in the search bar, because there's an internal search for the assets inside of Podcast Editor Academy, that the problem that they have, that video didn't pop up, or maybe they didn't try searching for it. I don't know. So we're like, oh yeah, here you go. Here's a video. And our videos, as you've mentioned, Steve, sometimes they're like over an hour long, but we're editors, right? You can time shift. You can have it play back at 2x speed, and a lot of them have the chapter video jump links. So if you
Yeah.
see, hey, at the 23-minute 42-second mark, we talk about this. Yeah, if you just click that, it immediately jumps the video to that portion. So again,
Yeah,
we make it easy for you. You can't really get that inside of a Facebook group, when we do the live streams. But when the streams go from live inside the academy, there's some editing, and then of course all that timestamp link production stuff.
Right. The timestamp links, we put a lot of effort in that before AI came out, and then it just made it even easier since then. So we've got timestamps to help you jump to the right places in the video. And that, I'll tell you what, I appreciate that, because I really prefer short videos. And if they're titled exactly what I want, I'm going right to it. That's how people watch YouTube, by the way. They're going to find the thing. And the thumbnail, of course, makes a difference on YouTube. But within a training educational source like the Academy, hey, I want to learn how to do this. There it is. Ooh, here's a chapter marker for da-da-da. Let me get past the first 5 minutes of introductions and go right to it. So there we go. The value of the Academy is there in the chapter markers as well.
Yep. And that's for the videos. And of course, so we got content like the sales scripts where you can basically copy and paste and use on your own to increase engagement or convert to sale, increase your rates, get some client feedback, referrals, all the things that a growing podcast editor needs.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, we are not closing the academy. We're just closing the doors to new members. That's going to be happening at the end of this calendar month, August 31st. I don't know if that's midnight Greenwich or Eastern or Pacific, but it's just get there
I
by
wouldn't
the
push it.
31st.
I personally believe if you're an editor, Podcast Editor Academy is for you.
Yeah.
In fact, we've got a stage to where if you're trying to get your first client, your first 5 clients, or grow beyond 15, we've got questions and roadmaps so that the academy will form itself around where you happen to be at in your stage, your professional stage of podcast editing. So yeah, that was a lot of work that we've put in there too. But that being said, I really wouldn't push time zones timing on August 31st because it would be sad that if the doors close and gosh darn it, you wanted to join, but now you have to wait until at least 2025 because Steve gave me a commitment that we're going to stay closed through 2024. So that way we can still do all the stuff we do with our current and existing members. We got some business development stuff, obviously, that comes out of Podcast Movement, and then all the techie stuff that we want to do for the next phase of Podcast Editor Academy.
Yeah.
The only way we can do that and stay sane is to close the doors.
Well, actually, I still have a couple courses I have to make. I've got a couple to update, and there's a couple I need to make that I've started. I just haven't finished. It's like, I just need to get it done.
And that's work that obviously continues to happen. But again, the constant promotion and the door opening. With the door, and then the onboarding calls that you do with new members, at least that can go away. So that should help you get those done, Steve.
Yeah. And as a result, the Podcast Editors Club newsletter will come out a little less frequently, but I think that's okay. After, conference season's over, there's not a whole lot to share there, but if something new comes up, obviously it's going to come out until we know what we're doing in 2025 to open those doors. Yeah. I wanted to go back to, I've done this twice now. I want to go back to where you're talking about, you don't want to make a big corporate company, employees and stuff like that. And you just touched on it again, is the roadmap. Because that was what we closed the doors for back in 2022 was Mark created this roadmap, which is kind of a step-by-step progression through getting your first client. And then stage 2, getting to the second and fifth clients. And then the other one is like 10 or more clients. Because the things you need to know when you're getting your first client, or even your second, third, fourth, fifth, or even sixth client, is different than when you got 10 clients or more. Because now you're talking about processes and systems, where here you're just trying to make a sale. So the roadmap is really helpful for that. And you can skip through it all you want, but it's kind of a guide to help you through whatever stage of learning that you're in as far as creating a business as a podcast editor for your lifestyle.
And when we come up with a new resource, we think about, hey, where would this, there's a place, there's a bucket, there's silos inside the academy where it goes. But we also think about, hey, is this good for a new editor or somebody around 5 clients or wherever? And then where would that be in the roadmap? Because sometimes there's a step in the roadmap, it's to watch one video. Maybe the next step is not to watch one video, but to complete this course. And that course could be 13 videos and like 5, sub lessons. And then the next step may be, hey, go out and grab these scripts and use a script. The next step may be, post something, actionable in the forums, or request feedback on your sales page in the forum. So it's the steps are very different. It's not just watch this video, next step, watch the next video. It's more than just videos. And once you reach the end of a phase, because Steve and I love feedback, we love to continuously evolve based off feedback, based off of the podcast, the surveys that we've done every year. That tells us, hey, what courses, what skills do editors need to make more money, vice what we think is just cool. But at the end of each phase, there's like, hey, what did you get out of this? You type that in there and click the button, and then it closes out there you go. That's a roadmap.
I've already checked them all, so it doesn't look like it would have if you were.
Oh, but you're on the first stage of the roadmap.
So on the
aren't
first,
you?
Yep. Okay. Here's one. Where is it? call me. Set up a call with me. It's in the actual roadmap. So if you
For
don't
the
do
new
it
ones,
before then here and then leave
and then you'll
feedback.
see those. Yep.
What were we gonna say?
Oh, just saying at the top, because you're really getting in the weeds here, Steve. But yeah, at the top we've got those three icons of are you launching, growing, and then world domination.
World domination. That's right.
Which not many people have made it to that point, but some have.
Yeah.
And we've got stuff in there. It's like, all right, here's the wish list if you want to dominate the world, and here's what we have to help you out with that.
Yeah, it was fun going through that roadmap. Of course, there's some things in there I need to do over again. My business model has changed. I need to go through and do the business model that Mark
you
does.
personally? Okay.
Yeah,
you personally. Okay.
Yeah, I got to go through it again. Plus, I need to update it with the courses that we've added the past couple of months. But
well, we're closing the doors, so it gives
hence,
us more time to focus on all that stuff. So
hence the reason why.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go to podcasteditoracademy.com to go join today. You only have another week to go before we close these doors. And I want to be able to get you in on my calendar for these coaching calls. Everybody who joins gets 2 coaching calls with me. You can schedule them at your leisure, so it's convenient for you when we meet. I had a conference call. I had a meet and greet with, or I guess you'd say it's a coaching call with someone from Finland. It was Finland a couple weeks ago. And it's really impressive when somebody from overseas is joining the academy, because a lot of times we're talking about business and we talk about, money stuff, and it's a different world overseas.
Yeah. It's the same world overseas, just a different implementation, right?
Well, different money situation, I guess you'd say.
Right. But it's just different ways in which people say things. So yeah, we're 30 minutes in. I'm certainly willing to answer more questions. But Steve, you got to tell me if there's more questions coming in. Otherwise,
no, I'm
actually heading to a meetup right now. A lot of the podcast editors that are at Podcast Movement right now, they're not watching this live stream. Maybe they're watching the replay because they told me they wanted to watch the replay, but they are at a meetup. And thank you, Jennifer Longworth, for getting that going.
Minutes.
No, actually, it started 30 minutes ago, Steve. They changed the time, so it's now a 3-hour-long event.
Wait, it was supposed to start at 6 Eastern.
Steve, you're not telling me anything I knew. And again, Jennifer, if you're watching the replay, thank you for stepping up to the challenge, because she volunteered to run a 2-hour meetup. And then they decided, these meetups need to be 3 hours.
They do. They do.
So, of course, she's a giving type person, but she was like, had the look on her face like, I can't believe I got to do, I got to be on for another hour. But luckily, because Jennifer Longworth is doing the meetup, I've been able to be here on this live stream with you. Cool. But again, without questions coming in, as you can tell, I am heading down there. Here's the inside of the atrium behind me here. Oh, well, granted, now I've come up too far. And
they are really beautiful, those Gaylord hotels.
They are.
Yeah,
they are. I like them. Oh,
right,
here,
I'll let you go, Mark.
I'll let you go. The inside of all this. All right, you'll let me go. I got you.
I'll let you go. Say hi to everybody at the meetup for me. Tell them I miss them and I wish I was there. Take some pictures and use your microphone with the light.
Oh, you know what? I left that in my room. I brought it. What am I doing? All right, you're absolutely right. I got to head over to my room and grab that before the meetup, because everyone loves getting their picture taken with that mic. And
yes.
Of course, I brought it. And you want to tell people what you're talking about, Steve? They may not know what it is, what's going on.
I will, yeah. So, Mark, thanks for joining me. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Thanks for joining me for this live stream. Tell everybody say hello, and I'll tell everybody about your microphone.
All right, will do. Bye, Steve. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, what Mark was talking about is he's got this microphone that he inserted this LED light that's battery powered. And it's just this beautiful golden microphone that you can walk around with. And he's right. You take pictures. He brought it to, was it Podcast Movement 2014? Did you bring it that time?
No. It wasn't 2014. It was, I think it came around 2017, something like that. It was a microphone. I bought a cheap microphone and I basically ripped the electronic guts out of it. And I put a kind of a flashlight inside of it. And the microphone, Yeah, the microphone itself, the diffuser, I put like some cellophane and some cotton in, so the diffuser became a light diffuser, and then I wrapped it around some like wood grain, and yeah, it became a pro.
Oh, I think we're losing him. We're losing him. He's in an elevator.
Well, yeah,
Oh, there
it's
you
an
are.
elevator, a noisy elevator, so I thought I'd mute myself. But if you're not going to do it from the studio, Steve.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you. You can hang up. I'll just sign off for you. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for checking out the live stream. Again, the Podcast Editor Academy is not shutting down, it's closing the doors so that once you're in, but we won't be accepting any new members after August 31st. And the reason for that is so we can focus on other things we're trying to do within the Academy. And then when we reopen the doors sometime in 2025, that's podcasteditoracademy.com. Any other questions, leave them in the comments. I'll check them out. Hopefully, we'll see you on the inside. Oh, wait, let's leave you with this. We'll just leave you with the view.